Hi, everyone. Corey Fleck here. Another KE Report webinar featuring Labrador Gold. This webinar is produced in conjunction with Focus Communications. I am your host over at the KE Report website, where we cover market commentary as well as resource stocks, Labrador Gold being one of those stocks. I am joined by Roger Moss, President and CEO of Labrador Gold. Roger has put together a presentation for us that we will be sharing here shortly, outlining a new project that the company is exploring, the Hopedale Project in Labrador. I guess I should say Labrador Gold is traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol LAB and on the OTCQX under the symbol NKOSF. Now, Roger, as I mentioned, this Hopedale Project, some recent news that came out of the company at the beginning of February explained some results from the 2023 exploration program. I assume the company is going to be following up on some of this. So everyone tuning in, please, you can ask questions throughout this webinar by using the chat function within this webinar software or the question and answer function. I will be monitoring both of those and interjecting questions as Roger walks through this presentation. So, Roger, thank you very much for joining us, and please give us some insights on this Hopedale project.
Yeah, thanks very much, Corey. It's good to be here and talking about Hopedale, and thanks to all your listeners for tuning in and getting for some probably an introduction to the Hopedale project. And we've talked a lot about Kingsway, and but what many people probably didn't realize is that even though we were going full out at Kingsway, we were bringing along our Hopedale project in the background as well over the last 5 years or so. So to get started, here's the normal disclaimer. I will be making forward-looking statements in the presentation, so you please be aware of that. And when we look at Labrador Gold as a company, I mean, you might say, well, why would I want to invest in Labrador Gold? Well, I mean, there are several reasons, which I think are very strong reasons. And that is, we have two very good projects, both of them in Newfoundland and Labrador. The Kingsway project, which many of you will be more familiar with, on the island of Newfoundland. It's in the central Newfoundland gold belt, and we've been exploring there for about 3.5 years now, and have had several discoveries there. The Hopedale project is located up in Labrador, and it is a district scale project that covers large parts of a greenstone belt that has potential for gold, copper, and nickel. And we're also in a politically stable jurisdiction in Newfoundland and Labrador, and that government there is very supportive of mineral exploration. And so it's a jurisdiction that we're very comfortable in. We've been working there since 2017, and in fact, this iteration of Labrador Gold, if you like, was started when we acquired the Hopedale project in 2017. Our exploration staff is excellent. They've done a great job both at Kingsway and Hopedale, and we've certainly advanced both projects over the last few years to a significant degree. And our shareholders, including perhaps some of you, we're very grateful for supporting us in this journey and joining us in the journey. And right now we have about $7 million in cash, no debt, and I think that's a good position to be in right now, knowing that that money's hard to come by, and financings are getting done, but they tend to be small. And we're very fortunate to have that cash in the bank. Okay, so This is a look at the share breakdown. We have about 170 million shares out. We traded last, I think, closed yesterday at 12.5 cents. So that puts us at a market cap of just over 21 million. We have a few options, fully diluted, so we're 177 million. And I mentioned the cash. Eric Sprott is our largest shareholder at 10.7%. We also have large shareholders in Palisades Gold Corp at about 6%. Newfound Gold, our neighbors at Kingsway, have 7.5%, and Crescat Capital about 9.5%. So some significant major shareholders there who have been very supportive over the last few years. Hopedale is, as I said, we've been working on Hopedale over the years in the background while we've been focused on Kingsway. But we really started in 2017 when we acquired the project from prospector Sean Ryan, who many of you may know, and that's when we started with just some initial reconnaissance sampling, soil and lake sediment sampling, and that was just a very quick end of season exploration program to see what was there at Hopedale. We got some really good anomalies in both the soils and the lake sediments, and so we followed it up in 2018 with a much more significant program of soil sampling. We took on the order of about 12,000 soil samples over the length of the Greenstone belt, as well as prospecting and mapping. We also did some ground geophysics work, mag VLF, and so the results of that work ended up with a 3-kilometer trend of gold in what we call the Thurber license, and that trend is outlined by both gold in rock and in soil samples, and it's a pretty significant trend that we'll see shortly. In 2019, we went back and we did quite a bit more work, and the result of some of that work was the discovery of the TD500 occurrence. When we arrived in 2017, there was only one gold occurrence known at Hopedale, and as you'll see, we found a few more in addition to TD500, and we've also found some other occurrences of copper and nickel. The copper at Kapaak we found in 2022, and nickel occurrences we found. We had some indications in 2022, but it was really last year that we followed up on those indications and outlined some significant anomalies at what we call Rusty Ridge and Last Resort.
So, Roger, was there any work done even before Labrador Gold as a company took over this project?
Yeah, the Hopedale project covers a large part of the Florence Lake Greenstone belt, and it had work dating back mostly to the 80s and 90s. And in the 90s, after the discovery of Voisey's Bay, which you can see here on this map, further to the north from Hopedale, there was a bit of exploration for nickel associated with the ultramafic rocks at Hopedale, and later in the later 90s, there was also some exploration off and on, fairly sporadic for gold, but not really ongoing. So yeah, it's when we arrived there, and one of the reasons I've always liked this project is that it is a greenstone belt. We own most of it, and it hasn't had much work done. It's certainly in consideration or comparison with greenstone belts elsewhere in the world.
Okay, thank you.
So this is just where it is. You can see it. You can see it here in the middle of the map. It's it looks like it's in the middle of nowhere, but in fact, it's not as bad as it looks because it's actually on tidewater. So there is a fjord or a bay that comes in from the Atlantic Ocean up at the community of Hopedale, and that runs along the eastern side of the Greenstone belt. So that's very useful in terms of logistics. And then there is a daily air service from Happy Valley Goose Bay to the Hopedale community. So it is up there, but it's not quite as remote as it seems on just looking at the map there.
What about other projects, other assets in and around the area, or any other activity in terms of exploration or development?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of activity, which is also being sort of going on and off for uranium. There's also nickel activity in the area. In fact, just west of our property and down to the south, there are some there's some nickel exploration ongoing. So there's more work being done up there, and I think over the last couple of years, especially, that's picked up, both with the uranium and with the critical metals, copper and nickel.
Yeah, that's been a big shift for the market, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. So this is what it looks like. The Florence Lake Greenstone Belt is shown here in the geology, the different colors, and it's typical greenstone belt geology. You have ultramafic rocks, you have mafic rocks in green, ultramafic rocks in purple. You can see some of the felsic volcanic rocks in yellow, and then the pinks and oranges around are various types of granitoids or gneisses. So very similar to what we see elsewhere in the world. In terms of greenstone belts. The 5 licenses are outlined here, starting at the top. This is the one we call the Thurber license, and then working our way down to the bottom. That covers about a 43 kilometer strike length of the Greenstone belt. So as you can see, most of it is covered by these licenses. I mentioned that it's relatively underexplored. And I think we've shown in the past, over the past 5 years, that there's good potential there for copper, nickel, and zinc, in addition to the gold that we were initially attracted to. And what we do know when we look at greenstone belts elsewhere in the world is that they tend to be prolific hosts of gold mineralization.
Are you usually seeing mineralization close to surface, or are these typically deeper systems?
Well, the origin of these kind of orogenic gold systems, they tend to be deep, but they are exposed at surface now. We haven't done any drilling here yet, so everything that you'll see today is basically mineralization at surface.
Oh, there are already questions about when it will be drill ready, so I'm sure we'll get to that later.
Yeah, okay. So going on with the greenstone belts, this is just a slide I put together as a comparison slide. Everybody likes to see what might be, and this is the Florence Lake Greenstone Belt down here in the bottom right. And the other blobs on the diagram are the footprints at the same scale as I did the Florence Lake Greenstone Belt of some of the major gold camps in Ontario. And you'll be familiar with many of these: Timmins, the T, KL, Kirkland Lake, LL, Lauder Lake, and RL, Red Lake. And underneath there, you can see how many ounces of gold have been produced from these gold camps. This would be a minimum, because you can see in the sources down below that the sources that are used for putting together these footprints is 2012 and 1983 and 1993 for Florence Lake, but there haven't been any gold produced at Florence Lake yet. But it just gives you a sense of like this is a gold rich system in these, or a gold rich environment in that we see in the Abitibi and up at Red Lake. So what's the possibility at Florence Lake? And that's one of the things that's always attracted me to this project right from the word go.
Roger, why is this greenstone belt so underexplored? We can see the millions of ounces in these other greenstone belts, nothing in Florence Lake.
Yeah, I think partly it's because of its relative remoteness. It is the work that we do up there is helicopter supported, so it's not there's no road access, for example. So I think that's part of it. The other part of it is that the Florence Lake Greenstone Belt is slightly older than the Greenstone Belts in Ontario, certainly the Abitibi. So that may be part of it. But when we're on the ground and looking at the rocks, they're very similar lithologies to what we see in these other Greenstone Belts.
So then, what are you targeting, though? Those are greenstone belts. You're also looking for critical minerals, so it's a kind of mixed bag that you're targeting? Well,
yeah, Corey, the thing about greenstone belts is that they are very prolific hosts of gold, but they're also hosts to nickel deposits, typically in ultramafic volcanic rocks that we call komatiites, and those are the ones that we see at Hopedale as well, and also volcanogenic massive sulfides. One of the largest VMS deposits in the world, Kidd Creek, is in the Abitibi up near Timmins. So yeah, they are prolific hosts of gold, but also there's a lot of potential for other metals in these greenstone belts as well.
All right. Well, thanks, Roger. Let's get into the Hopedale project then.
Yeah. So this is where we're at now. Like I said, we've been working here 5 years, and it's been kind of a slow roll over the years. Obviously, 2020 and 2021, we didn't get up there to do any work because of COVID. And it's really only now that we're starting to get into the meat of things, especially with the gold. The nickel and copper are relatively new endeavors for us, but they're coming along nicely as well. So what have we done? Since we started here, we found eight occurrences. There was one, as I mentioned earlier, that was already known at Hopedale, and that was the Thurber dog occurrence, and that's up in the northern part, top of this slide. And while we were doing the soil sampling and rock sampling, we also started to find more occurrences around Thurber dog, and we called them Thurber North and Thurber South, very original. And but probably the best one we found in 2019, and we only took 3 samples of it at that point, but it has turned out to be a really nice occurrence, and probably the prime candidate for drilling, and that's the TD 500 occurrence up there in the middle of the North Block. So those are some of the gold occurrences. Mostly all of them occurred in that North Block, except for one, which was a really nice sample that we got last year down at what's called the Fire Ant occurrence, and that one had over 100 grams a ton of gold and about 20 grams a ton silver in a grab sample from that outcrop. So that was nice to see, and that's down in the bottom, down at the bottom of this slide, the bottom left, and you can also see down there Rusty Ridge and Last Resort. We'll get into them in a little more detail in a minute, but they're where we saw the best nickel values in both in both soils and rock samples. So we're looking at potentially nickel associated with ultramafic volcanics down there, and as well as that fire ant gold occurrence.
So, Roger, let's keep it there just for 1 second, because a question came in that did say, look, 8 occurrences are within 2 license areas. We see it's up on the north, down in the south. What about these other license areas? Were you doing work there and just not finding many occurrences, or do you just need to spend some more time on these other licenses?
Yeah, we have done work there, and you can see the other licenses. They're also lit up. So, for example, here we have jasmine in the second license down, and we see quite a lot of zinc there. There's also a little bit of gold. Misery, the next one down, full of pink dots, which is basically gold in soil. So good gold in soil anomalies there, and it also has some nickel and cobalt, which we haven't followed up on at all. And then as you go down, there are a few other occurrences. The Starship, which has gold in soil anomalies, but we really haven't done enough work at these other anomalous areas to kind of justify giving them an occurrence name, really.
Okay, so right now the focus then being on the occurrences that you have found, the higher grade ones in the north, and it looks like down in the south.
Yeah, and as one of your listeners was asking, like, when are we going to drill it? So I mean, that's ultimately the goal, is to get some of these occurrences to the point where they can be drilled. And I think that obviously getting a drill up there, even though we are on tidewater, is not easy. When you get the drill up there, you want to have a significant program. So you want to have good targets. You want to have enough targets to justify a significant program. So we're really focused on upgrading the more advanced occurrences, if you like TD500, to good drill targets.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So now we're going to zoom in a little bit. This is Thurber. We call it the Thurber license because that's where the Thurber dog occurrence was when we first arrived, and it gives you a little bit better sense of the geology. And it's probably the best way to look at it is there's this purple stripe coming up through the center next to the lake, and those are the ultramafics. So that's sort of the direction of the stratigraphy. It's almost north-south, and you can see it bending up to the northeast, up in the north. And it's along that contact with the ultramafics and the mafics that we tend to see these gold occurrences occurring. So it's fairly predictable in where we see it. And this particular diagram only shows rock samples, but if we added the soil samples to this, you'd see that whole contact light up with gold-rich soils as well. So these are the occurrences. As I mentioned, we got Thurber North and Thurber South, 3.8, 4.1 grams. TD500, our best occurrence so far, at just under 22 grams, and Thurber Dog just over 11 grams a ton. So significant values, and more to come from there, I'm sure. We've also had a look a couple of years ago. I think it's probably 3 years ago now. We found this copper silver occurrence to the south called Kapaak, and we got up to 10.2% copper and 9.2 grams a ton silver in rock samples. So that was pretty interesting. And what we did in 2022 was we went back and we did some channel sampling in this area. We channel sampled TD500. You can see what it looks like here. This is stripped off, and it's pretty much gossiness, the whole area. The inset photograph there, and then just to the left of the inset photograph, you can see the map of where we took some of the channels. That's the best area of values that we got. Further to the north, we didn't get as good values up there, but some of the values that we got in the southern part there were really good. 7.2 grams over just under 2 meters, almost 3 grams over 5, and you can see the assays there, 4.2 over 5 meters. So some significant intervals there right at surface, and this is probably the number one target for drilling at some point.
So how much more work needs to be done at TD 500 then? You've got the surface samples, you've shown high grade. What more do you do before you get a drill there?
Some geophysics. We probably want to look at some IP, potentially looking at the resistivity below surface, so that that'll guide the drilling. But I think we're close. I think we may be able to squeeze it in this year, but certainly we want to go up and do some geophysics this year, and refine the targets here as well as down in the south at Rusty Ridge.
Okay, as you said, build up a handful of targets before you get on the ground.
Yeah, just to make it worthwhile, because I mean the mobilization cost of getting the drill up there is going to be significant. So I don't really think it's worth going in there for like 5 drill hole program for 1,000 meters or something like that.
Yep, no, makes sense. All right, let's hear about more targets then.
This is Kapaak, the one just a little bit further south on the top license. This is the one where we got the 10% copper. Obviously, in the channel sampling, we didn't get as good assays, but we still got up to 3.3% and several over 1%. The knock on this one is that the widths are a little lean in some places, but they do get up to 1.5 meters. But that's something that is still more of a curiosity than a drill target at this point, I think. It needs more work to figure out if that's all there is in terms of width, or whether we can actually see wider intervals of similar kinds of copper grades.
Okay, so that's earlier stage.
Yeah. So Fire Ant was an occurrence that we found last year, as I mentioned, and it's very close to Rusty Ridge. So this is now down in the south, the southernmost license that we talked about, and Fire Ant, yeah, over 100 grams a ton with 20 grams silver. We've only got 2 or 3 samples from this area. So we're not sure what's happening there yet, but it seems to be very close to the contact with ultramafic rocks, and in this case, it seems to be hosted by felsic volcanic rocks. And there's a piece of the sample there in the inset photo, and you can see that it's very, very rusty, very gossamerous, and a good looking rock. So that's next to Rusty Ridge, which I think is on next slide. Rusty Ridge and Last Resort. So back in 2022, we did a very brief reconnaissance at Rusty Ridge and took some samples there, and because we had noticed that there'd been a few soil samples that showed nickel, and we followed that up with more sampling, rock sampling primarily. I don't think we did any soil samples in 2022. So prospecting to see if we could find any good-looking nickel-bearing rock. We found a little more, but it wasn't really until last year that we spent a good portion of the of our program down in this area at Rusty Ridge and Last Resort. And you can see here the pink dots are soil samples, and they're above 97.5 percentile, which means that they're very anomalous. And so there's a lot of them there. And in fact, you can see in some of the soil samples at Rusty Ridge, we got up to 0.23% nickel in the soil sample. So there's something going on here. It's a very, very anomalous nickel area. The rock samples are certainly anomalous, but they're not way higher than that one in the soil sample. And part of the reason for that may be that these gossamer rocks can actually be leached of some of the nickel that's in there, and so they may not show as much as the fresh surface below. And that's something that was I think came out of the discovery of Voisey's Bay, where many people have walked over and sampled the discovery outcrop, but it was only the two prospectors that made the discovery that actually got down to the fresh rock and sampled it and found the significant nickel. So maybe that's playing out here, maybe not, but it's certainly something that we're going to look at. We're going to look at this year. And the other thing about these anomalies, and especially Last Resort down in the bottom here, is that you can see those soil samples are very, very nicely lined up along that magnetic high in pink. In the pink, it's like a pink finger stuck in the middle of a sea of blue, and that's really exciting, because that would indicate that there's something there. And again, this is an area that we need to focus on this year with some geophysics, and see if we can actually outline some drill targets.
Okay. And
this is what it looks like. So this is a shot from the air of Rusty Ridge, both of them. Rusty Ridge. This one on the top left is looking towards the north, and the one on the bottom right is looking towards the east. And it just gives you two shots, and it indicates why we actually call it Rusty Ridge, because it is very rusty and it is a ridge.
Yeah, I think we can all see that. That's a very applicable name to this.
Right. And okay, so just to wrap it up, this is we think there's great potential for gold and nickel and copper at Hopedale. We found there are 9 occurrences known. We've actually only found 8 of them, but still lots there, and we think that there's a lot more potential for further discovery in that 3-kilometer gold-rich trend, as well as at Last Resort and Rusty Ridge, where we have a large area of anomalous nickel in soils and grab samples. So I think Rusty Ridge, Last Resort, and that 3-kilometer trend are areas that we're going to focus on this year. And we've got plenty of cash to carry out our drill program. Sorry, no, I shouldn't say drill program. Oh,
no drill program yet, right, Roger? You're still targeting. You're building up targets for a drill program.
That was a slip. You can tell I want to drill it, but
not yet. Not yet. That's what a number of people were asking. So more targeting. You said maybe drilling by the end of the year, correct?
Yeah. So another issue working up in Labrador, of course, is a short field season. We're really looking at from early July to I mean, you can go into October, but the longer you go, the less the more weather dependent it is, and it can get pretty nasty in October. So really, you got beginning of July to end of September is sort of prime exploration time.
Okay, Roger, we've had a number of questions come in. Thank you, everyone, for sending in your questions. You can still get a couple more in if you type them in the platform right now. One early on question is the company now pivoting away from the Kingsway project in Newfoundland? That's where you did a lot of the drilling over the last couple of years, but you are clearly moving forward this Hopedale project too. Are you at least, let's say this year, in the near term, switching a bit more of your focus?
No, I think Kingsway is still our flagship project. We've got a lot going on at Kingsway. Found a lot there, and you know, it's kind of I'm very happy to have two really good projects, and but I think Kingsway is far more advanced than Hopedale. But what I want to do is to show both our shareholders and others that you know what potential there is at Hopedale, and so that this is also taken into account. And we, as I mentioned, we've really kind of just brought it along slowly in the background. We haven't spent too much money on it, and I will give a shout out again to the Newfoundland government that. You know, they've been very good at supporting us in our exploration efforts, both at Kingsway and Hopedale. And this past year, they introduced a new critical metals grant, and so we're getting some money for the work that we did up there last year. And so no, I mean, Kingsway is still the number one project, but I also like Hopedale.
Okay. Now, when it comes to these primary targets and when you get drilling here, how do you prioritize gold compared to some of the critical minerals? Because we saw a lot of surface samples of high-grade gold, but you also mixed in some nickel and other results there. So what is the priority to go after in terms of targeting?
Well, I think the priorities are really, at least in my mind, they are based on what we're able to generate as a drill target. And as I mentioned, I think right now TD500 is our best drill target. We have gold at surface. We have gold over significant widths in the channel samples. And we have some geophysics there. I'd like to do some more. And with that in hand, I think we can plan a decent drill program. Rusty Ridge and Last Resort are a little bit further behind. I'd like to do some detailed geophysics over those soil grids, and also perhaps try and get some samples from of the fresh ultramafic rocks below the Gossamer surface before we go and drill there. As to which we drill, like I said, if I have a drill up at the Hopedale project, I'll drill whatever is ready to be drilled, whether it's gold, nickel, copper, whichever one's ready, I'll drill them all.
Okay, fair enough. Good on you. Why not, right? If you have a good target, go out there and drill it. I'm sure a lot of investors would like to see some of these targets drilled. But before you get drilling, exploration in terms of further isolating these targets, you said geophysics, some more surface work. Are you going to be doing more surface sampling? And what sort of news out of that more, I guess, targeting exploration work that's going to happen this year can we expect?
Well, yeah, unfortunately, with the way it works at Hopedale, you know, we'll be up there for a month or two. We'll be doing the work. There won't be much news, and the news will basically come all at once because that's when we'll be getting the results back from the lab. So it's not like at Kingsway where we have a more a steadier flow of news from drill results. At Hopedale, it's not going to be quite as steady.
Okay. Now you're not doing this targeting to potentially JV this project or any areas, are you?
It has occurred to me that might be a good idea.
Okay.
Certainly, if we were approached by a company that had the ability to take it on, we would be open to an offer. But at the moment, nothing has come our way. But who knows? That might happen.
Okay. Now, what about the total size of this Hopedale project? Somebody's asking just for a quick recap on total size compared to just the strike lengths that you have of some of the targets you're working up.
Yeah, well, I think the entire Greenstone belt, as I mentioned, it's about 43 kilometers that we have covered with our licenses. The Greenstone belt itself is about 60 kilometers, I think. So we have about 66% or whatever, 2/3 of it. Of that, the two licenses, the one in the north and one in the south, are the ones where we've really developed the occurrences, and then there's the three in the middle that have signs of gold and nickel cobalt, but we haven't brought them along to the same degree as we have the other ones. So, of that, say 43 kilometers, we're probably looking at about maybe 10 kilometers that have significant occurrences.
Okay. So as at this current stage, and I realize stuff can change, some people are wondering how you would go about ranking these targets. It sounds like that TD 500 is at the top of the pecking order, but what follows it? Can you give us a general outline there?
It's tough. I think TD 500 is definitely number one. And then one of the things that we see is, as I mentioned, we have that 3 kilometer trend. So if we're drilling at TD 500, we're gonna continue to step out to the north and south away from it. So that's sort of going to happen. TD 500, by the way, stands for Thurber Dog 500. So because it's 500 meters away from Thurber Dog, which is the other occurrence, and so there's 500 meters in between there. Is Thurber Dog? Thurber Dog's a potential candidate, but like I say, I would really like to get as many targets as we can in order to drill, because we can't just drive the drill up and start drilling and do like a 1,000-meter drill program. That doesn't make sense economically. So I know I'm waffling a bit here, so I'll try again. TD 500 would be my number one. Because the drill is up there on the northern license, I would also like to drill Thurber Dog, and I would like to drill Kapaak, the copper occurrence, assuming that we can demonstrate that there's potential for more than 1.5 meter widths. So that would be one group, right? So let's say those are the first three priorities because they're all in the same area of the property. Then we have to go way the hell down to the south and look at the nickel and also the fire ant gold occurrence. So those would probably be fourth and lower priorities if we say that the ones up at Thurber are the top three.
Okay, that's fair, though. It seems like the northern licenses then are more of the focus because you have a number of targets already kind of in that area. When you say that you want a number of targets before actually starting drilling, Is there a number around that? Is that a minimum of 5, a minimum of 10, or is it a minimum of 3? Any clarity on that?
It's not so much a number of targets. It's how many meters of drilling that we would want to do, and because I think, you know, as I mentioned, a 1,000, 2,000 meter drill program, the cost of mobilization and demobilization of the drill is gonna drive that cost way up. So, you know, I'd like to see targets that would benefit from at least 5,000 meters, maybe even 10,000 meters, before committing, because then then the economics work a little better.
Okay. Since we're talking about that, then how much would it cost to drill Hopedale? I understand it sounds like startup costs are kind of the key kicker here, but can you put a number around what drill costs would be?
No, this is something that I'm looking into right now, but I don't have. So I've been trying to get a hold of the driller at Kingsway, because I know that he does have rigs up in Labrador, but I haven't managed to get him to. I mean, not even commit, but to give me some kind of idea of what the costs are up there, because I think he has 3 rigs up there right now, so he would have a very good idea. So unfortunately, right now, I don't know. Our all-in cost at Kingsway is about $280 a meter, and all in, that means geology, trucks, accommodation, assays, the whole works, right? I would expect. Well, I shouldn't really. It'll be
fair enough. Don't get yourself in trouble here. It's too early, maybe, to say.
It'll be significantly more than that up at Labrador, though.
Yeah. Okay. Roger, when was the last time you raised money? Because with $7 million in cash still on hand, look, that's a healthy amount for an exploration company in this market.
Yeah, well, we were really, really fortunate that. So the short answer is 2021.
Yeah.
And it's oh no, wait, no, sorry, 2022. And no, it was 2021. And we were very fortunate in that the gold rush at Kingsway helped us quite a lot, and we managed to raise in 2020, 2021, probably about 35 million. So that's really why we still have this money on hand, and it's a great spot to be in.
Yeah, oh, it's a unique spot to be in. We know a lot of companies out there that have had a lot of trouble raising money recently, and quite frankly, are just raising money to keep the lights on. So, Roger, we've been through a lot of questions here. Thank you for taking us through this Hopedale project. I'll give you one last little closing remark here. In terms of investors looking at Labrador Gold, you do have the 2 projects, right? Hopedale that you're continuing on with targeting, as well as the Kingsway project. So, overall value proposition, please.
Yeah, I think, well, you know, obviously Kingsway, like I said, still a flagship project. It's a long strike and along the same structure as Newfound Gold. We haven't had the incredible assays that Newfound Gold have come out with, and they came out with some more today, I know. And I don't know why that is, but I find it hard to believe that the geology and structures change at the claim boundary, but there it is. So I'm confident that there's more to be found at Kingsway, and but I don't want to, you know, I think part of the reason for showing the Hopedale and what the potential is at Hopedale is that I don't want people to think of us as a one-trick pony, and so there is a lot of potential at Hopedale, and you know, when you look at Hopedale in comparison to Greenstone belts elsewhere in the world, it's there seems like a lot of potential there that has gone unrealized, and perhaps we're just literally scratching the surface right now.
Okay. Roger, thank you very much for this webinar update. If anyone has follow-up questions, you can always email me directly. My email is fleck, F-L-E-C-K, @kereport.com. I'll follow up with Roger as we get some more news throughout this year, and also to address any questions that you have sent in. Roger, thank you for your time. Everybody who tuned in, thank you for tuning in, and thank you for sending in your questions.
Thank you very much, Corey, and yeah, thanks for everybody listening.